What's up, gentlemen?
What's going on, man?
How are y'all?
Good. Always.
Freaking making it, getting it done.
So, Quinton, it's been a couple months since I talked to you, and hell, Dustin, it's been probably damn near a year since I talked to you.
At least a year, huh?
Yeah. How many races you had since I talked to you last?
Oh, dude, some big ones this year. We just finished the 2023 season, and it's been a crazy year. So it's, like we talked last time, most of my stuff is out in Vegas.
Yeah.
So racing from Louisiana and driving back and forth is tough, but now it's just become part of what that is. But that's where the big races are, like the big off-road, long desert races that we do. That's where that is now. So, we talk about doing as many local races and like getting cars going to race around here.
Oh, I see what mischief y'all been getting into, man. Every time I turn around, y'all getting pulled over. Cops are rolling up on y'all or something.
Man.
That was the one time we weren't doing anything yesterday.
Yeah, we were trying to eat Buffalo Wild Wings.
They were profiling, huh?
Yeah, they for sure were yesterday.
We were just trying to eat Buffalo Wild Wings. I think I hit the swerve a little bit going down the road, and the cop was dead behind us when I did it. And so I kind of blocked him out from going around another car, and he immediately got in behind us. But I feel like that stuff follows up. And Josh, one of our good buddies that does all of our production, he always talks about running with me and Quinton. He's like, you guys do more outlaw things than anybody I've ever met and get out of everything that you do. And so nothing happened yesterday. We got pulled over by that dude, like checked everything. I had no tags on the truck, no insurance on the truck, no nothing, dude.
The dude was trying to figure out what the deal was. He was like, what do you mean they give you a truck? Do you lease it? He's like, no, they just send me the dealer plates, send me the stuff I'm supposed to have. I just leave it under the floorboard of the truck. I don't put it on. And the cop's like, well, you can't roll around with dealer plates on. He's like, well, of course I know that. I hadn't put them on. Yeah. And he's like, I need you to put those on. And what was crazy is we really were profiled. Because we went to Mansfield and to a street race event, and it's all black dudes. All our buddies are all black dudes that we street race. We were the only 3 white people out there. So everybody leaves the street race spot. We pull up to like this country road in front of people's house.
In Mexico. It was a country road in Mexico.
Yeah, it was a long drive. And there's like 50 or 60 cars lying down the road, and they're unloading race cars out of the trailer and stuff. And they heard on the scanner that the cops were on the way. So everybody's like, let's go up to the car wash. And so we make the loop and follow them. And we're the 3 white dudes in a vehicle with no tent. And they pull us over. So I'm like, what? And then we realized it had expired paper tags on it. And the 4 DeSoto Parish sheriffs.
Maybe it's because we didn't have a Hellcat or a Charger or a Challenger, and we're rolling with a whole group of
you look pretty sus.
5th gen Camaros, a couple of Mustang, a couple of crowd killers, and then all Mopars, and then this big lifted bright red truck cruising through, and he's like, oh, you definitely are not.
Probably has the speed limiter still on it. We got him.
We looked out of place. So last night got wild. Like that was just yesterday afternoon.
And they're running stuff. Man, they're running a bunch of races down in Mansfield now. Not street, but other stuff. They're doing drag racing stuff in there too. Yeah,
out there in
DeSoto. They somehow acquired a road from the parish or permitted it, and then spent what I heard was $90,000 on asphalt, and they got there and drag racing charged for admission. Dustin went once or twice.
Yeah, and it's
I have a buddy that's big into it. He keeps messaging me because he's like, man, y'all need to come down here.
Who's that?
Isaac Barnes.
Oh.
He's big into all this.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a car, but he's big into, I don't know, it's all his people.
Yeah.
And they're down there all the time running. And he's like, you need to come down here and hang out and sling some barbecue and hang out. I was just like, man,
that'd be cool.
You should.
That's what they said. But I haven't had time, man. I haven't done,
There was like one little food truck out there when I went, dude. It just lined up for them.
I do that stuff when I don't have anything going on. And now it's like few and far between. Like I'll do custom like catering stuff, but like as far as setting up and stuff, it's rare at this point.
Yeah.
But no, man. But yeah, there's a lot going on, and yeah, I guess y'all find, or if y'all don't find stuff going on here, you create it. So
see, it's kind of like a team effort. Yeah, it's kind of a team effort because not only do we have a bunch of hobbies, we have a bunch of toys, and so I don't know if anybody follows our social media or Instagram. It's like 2 weekends ago. It was we went jet skiing or took out like the Sea-Doo Sparks out on the river, and it's 40-something degrees.
It's cold as shit out there.
Dude, we're full camp, like heavy jackets, double layered, and we go jet skiing last weekend or 2 weekends ago. And the following weekends, like we got our pit bikes that we go riding in. We got a couple of Quentin's got a couple of blown up Corvettes. This weekend we go street racing. So it's like, man, I hear people say there's not much going on around Shreveport, like there ain't nothing to do. We find stuff every weekend.
What were y'all doing with that boat and pulling some shit off the bottom of the bridge? What the hell were y'all doing? I was trying to figure out what y'all were doing.
We don't know. It's just, you don't waste any opportunities. So we go down there to test the trucks out and we put new suspension on stuff. It's like our proving grounds right there in town. But every time we go, there's a boat dump down there. I don't know how they're getting them off the trailer because they're not like chained to the pole.
Off the bridge on the side.
So to preface this, it's an area just outside of Shreveport, and we call it Bum Bridge. It's where a bunch of interstates cross over each other. Well, there's like a little side trail that you got to squeeze between two barricades to get down under there. But like Quinton said, we take our trucks down there when we put new tires or a lift or whatever to go play, and we call it playing down at Bum Bridge. But like we can barely get our trucks between there, and somehow
I never thought about that.
Every couple of months, how are they getting boats and trailers under this bridge?
Why is that that's just something that's random to dump, like.
Of all the places,
that's Louisiana though. Like, it's more predominantly. Have you ever been down south and seen how many boats are off the trailers?
But it's interesting, right? Like, it's like, are they that messed up, or you couldn't do something with them? Like,
we burn them all the time.
They floated. We couldn't hardly sink that one, and we tried sinking it, and so it didn't seem like
the jet skis ramped them into the boat while it was still floating to try to sink it.
Yeah, it didn't seem like it was that bad.
Meanwhile, somebody's got an $80,000 bass rig, and they leave the plug out, and they lose their whole.
Dude, I know. Yeah. And we can't sink this Bum Bridge boat. Period. And I see bass boats sunk at the dock.
Yeah,
they usually start down there with the trailer, and then the trailer's gone. Somebody come down there and take the trailer, and so they got their boat loaded up on there. So now there's a boat on the ground. But I think I figured out, dude, it's with me and Quinton, it's just the curiosity that gets us every time. That's how we get into exploring these bum buildings, these abandoned buildings around town, finding the craziest stuff, having the craziest run-ins with bums, and like finding their houses, and do the conversations that we had. So down on Common Street where the little barbecue joint is?
Yeah.
So when you come down on Common Street and you keep coming out towards North Market, to the left, there's the railroad tracks over there. Well, there's like a whole bum colony over there.
Oh, yeah.
And so a couple of years back, I'm pretty sure Quinton was with us. It was just when we started getting big into pit biking around town. And we went down there and stopped and talked to some of these. Well, we had this old couch sitting at S3, and we were like, man, we need to get rid of this thing. Let's find somebody to give this to. So we went down to this dude and was like, hey, man, we got a gift for you. We want to make sure you're going to be here a while. The dude was like, well, what is it? I was like, bro,
you don't have nothing. What do you mean, what is it?
You're homeless. You got nothing. You're worried about what a gift is. I was like, oh, man, we want to surprise you, but like we just want to make sure you're here. We'll be back with it. Will you be? He was like, well, don't bring it if it ain't beer. I said, what? He legit didn't want it, which we didn't tell him. We were going to bring in this nice couch straight out of our office and give it to him. He was just dead set. He didn't want it if it wasn't beer. So we went down to the next bum houses, talked to these dudes. They were like, yeah, freaking bring whatever it is. We don't care. We want it. Bring it on. So we did. We went back and got the couch, took it in there and dropped it off. But when we got down there, we started talking to these dudes, and like just legitimately, because I always wonder when you run into homeless people, like, how did you get here? Like, what is the deal? What's going on? So you just start asking them questions, and we were asking these random dudes. They were homeless people, just like kind of interviewing them, just sitting talking with them, like, where did you get this? Where are you from? And like, dude, one of the guys we talked to was a pretty normal dude. And he's like, man, I'm from Mississippi. And like, I used to have a Camaro that we did street racing in, and like my family dirt tracked. I was like, how did you get here? And he's like, I don't know, man, I just kind of, me and my wife split up. And then I kind of went, just left out with what I had. And he's like, got down here and met some people, and now I'm just staying here. But it always seems to be like this strange common theme of, they're about to get this big inheritance. One of their family members is about. So the crazy stories that we hear, like just to stop and talk to people and ask them what's going on, they always have that common theme of, I'm only here for a little while. Like, I'm not going to be homeless for long. I'm about to get a big inheritance. I'm about to run into some money, and then I'm out of here.
Yeah, I want to seem
it's
like
easier to live in delusion than reality.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know.
They choose to be homeless. Like,
right.
A lot of them I know, like, have family they go stay with. They're like, I don't want to live into their house. I want to do what I want to do. I want to drink. I want to do this. And they would rather live on the street and not have to listen to anybody than have the creature comforts that I feel like I'd be like, man, I would just have to suck it up and ask for help or something. They choose that. They're like, I'd rather live there.
Oh, I've seen the ones that will park their vehicle and then get out and walk 3 blocks and then pedal for money.
Oh, yeah.
Like, so I don't know who to get money. Yeah, fuck yeah. We saw it the other day. My wife and I were somewhere, and we saw this lady get out of this SUV, and it wasn't brand new, but it was a later model SUV, and she got out of it, and she had a little sign. I was like, look at this shit. So I don't know who to trust. So I don't pass money out the window, man. I just don't.
I quit. I don't do it either. Tell 'em.
Yeah. But it's that curiosity that gets me and Quinton into all this crazy stuff. Like, you hear somebody might like be street racer, you hear there might be something going on, we're going to go check it out. Or we'll jump on Cato 911 and like if something's going on. Sometimes we roll up and see if they need backup, you know what I mean? Just to check, just to see how bad it is. If there's a shooting or like crime in progress, we're going to check it out for sure. And so that's how we get into all that crazy stuff.
It makes sense. It makes sense.
And the tough part about hanging out with us is, we've accumulated toys over 7 or 8 or 10 years, I guess, that me and Quinton have known each other, between our thermals and drones and dirt bikes and side-by-sides and trucks and cars. And so people come and hang out with us. They're like, dude, I got to have one of everything. I'm going to go broke trying to do what y'all do. But it's like, man, we accumulate this over.
Yeah, you didn't get all at one time.
No. So it's just nonstop doing something, and we'll come hang out with you for the weekend, and you'll have something cool that we're into, throwing knives.
Yeah.
And we're like, bro, we got to get some throwing knives.
That's how we end up with so many projects, and nothing gets done once it gets broke or it gets used.
What do y'all have going on that you are getting done right now? Racing?
Yeah,
you
we
got
actually.
You got all those tunes out yet?
A lot more.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's slow, man. I've already accepted that. And
Yeah.
I'm optimistic. So pessimistic, always right.
Yeah.
I'm not pessimistic. I'm like, man, I'm gonna get all this done. No, I'm not. But I'm gonna get a lot of it done.
Yeah.
But yesterday, I mean, we were supposed to go assemble the motors for his street truck and my car, and we just chose fun over.
What do y'all running? What kind of street truck you got?
So it went down this dicey road.
Right now?
Yeah, it went down this crazy road. I don't even know how he ended up with his drift Corvette, but that's what it originally started as. Like, man, you know what? We've got mud riding rigs, you know that.
Yeah.
We got our pit bikes that we play on. We have our nice daily drivers. And so we're like, dude, we don't have anything to like go fast or like drift or do burnouts or donuts. So let's get some stuff to play with around town. Well, literally, we're sitting on the couch on a Sunday relaxing. My man's just scrolling through Facebook Marketplace and finds this drift Corvette that's pretty clean. Like, it's real wild. It's got handbrake and like
seats, knuckles, like it was kind of everything like garage. The dude did it at his house, like on its way to being taken to the drift course on those tracks. They got some random tracks that are closed down in Texas that they hold drift events at. I was like, oh man, that'd be cool, like one weekend just to go and mess around. So messaged the dude on Sunday. I was like, hey man, I got cash. I'll come pick it up. He's like, well, the bank ain't open for the title. I was like, what do you ain't going nowhere. I'm coming to your house.
Yeah, I'll get the title later.
Yeah,
I just want the car.
Bill of sale and we're good. Let's go.
So he ends up with that car the same day we decide we need to get something fast. And so I was like, all right, well, you've got a Corvette. There's a bunch of Camaros, Mustangs running around town. I want to build a pickup truck just because it's a little different. I want to build a regular cab, short bed Silverado, turbo truck.
Okay.
And so I'm like, dude, let me grab this up. I'll go ahead and get my turbo and everything ordered, and we'll get this knocked out on a free weekend. Well, now here we are 2 years later since I bought that truck, and still his Corvette is blown up. Motor's still blown up. We blew it up 2 weeks into buying that thing.
Damn.
And 2 years later, his Corvette's still sitting, and my Silverado's still building progress. So that's what we're supposed to do this weekend.
But that's what happens. We have free days. Like every now and then it lines up Friday and Saturday. We're both in town. And I'm like, well, let's do that. And then we get headed towards the shop. We're doing something, and we're like, oh, man, it's nice outside. Let's go ride the pit bikes. Or, oh, they got street racing going on, or this is going on. So it's like we probably got 6 weekends out of I would say maybe more than that. But half the year our weekends line up. Well, then the half of that is fun lines up with it.
Yeah.
So we really not many weekends of working on projects in our head that are 3-day projects when really they're 2 or 3 week projects.
But are you that way? Like when you get something, say it's like, hey, I want a new gun, I want a new cooker. Do you get it immediate? Like, are you a spontaneous buyer,
Man,
or do you research it?
But, man, I don't know. I feel like I'm a little more grounded now that I've grown up a little bit. Like, so I'll look into shit a little more. But sometimes I'll scoop something up and then I'm like, I'll figure it out. You know? I do that. But I'm the worst. I have to finish a project. Like, what y'all have going on stresses me the fuck out right now.
Bro,
like, I want to come to your house and finish it right now. Like, I have to finish something before I start something else. It will drive, or in the back of my mind, I'll be doing something and thinking the whole time,
I got to get that one.
I got to finish. And I don't know why I'm like that. So I think that's a good thing. But also, like, I envy people who can start something and get jump to something else and they don't get hung up. Because I'm a little better when it comes to, like, if it's a restoration project.
Yeah.
Like, if I know, okay, I'm not going to get all, I'm spending 20, 30 grand on this build. I'm not going to get it all done this year. I'll spend $5,000 on it this 6 months, and whatever. Like, I got a T100 build I'm doing.
Really?
And it's a restoration. It's my grandfather's, and so I'm about to redo all the suspension on it. But I know that's then we got to fix the exhaust, and then I got to go in and put a new clutch and a flywheel in it. And so I know I'm like not going to get done with that.
I think that's probably
one weekend.
Mine and his problem is we don't realize like, oh, this is going to take more than a weekend to get done.
Well, no, the thing is too is we both do pretty well. So financial means it's easy to order stuff from the computer. So you're like, oh, I got this car. I know everything I need. Let me go ahead and order everything. I want everything to come in, and I'm going to start on it and finish it. Literally, probably 6 to 10 days I could have all my Corvettes running. Probably realistically 6 easy days with his truck it could be running, and we just haven't. We haven't just allotted that time. Like, this is all we're going to do and not anything else, because fun stuff comes up.
I've noticed that because I've been ordering parts for that, and I'm like, okay, as soon as I get all these suspension parts sitting here, then we'll start on that. And then I'm like, well, I hope something else doesn't come up between now and then that's going to prolong that, because then it's just going to be in the back of my head like, damn, I got to get that done.
We're probably going to have we're probably going to have to literally put a calendar on the wall and just like mark the days and be like, no matter what comes up, we've got it. It's about to get to that point.
But y'all do, at least you have the setup where you can work on your own stuff. That helps a lot, because most people's hindrance is like, well, man, the wife's using the garage. I can't use it this weekend, So
them dudes get more done than us.
Yeah, the garage dudes.
That ain't no lie.
Well, what you got, y'all? How did you end up in finishing the year out? When's the fiscal year start? Is it January to December race year?
The first race is in January, and the last race is usually around November. So the last race for us was the Baja 1000.
So how much did you end up? Like, where'd you end up on points?
We did really well this year. We did until. Yeah, like with everything, you do really well until I think we had like 7 races this year, and so we had like 5 podiums and one tore up car and 1 race where we had some flats or something. So like it was a good year for us. It's we got second for the national championship again. It's like the 3rd year in a row we've got second for the national championship, and it came down to right at the end, the last couple of races, and with some broken parts, like it put us out of winning the championship. But then we went straight to Baja 1000, which is a crazy experience. Quinton and I have raced the Baja 500 together. And dude, you think we're wild up here in bro, you sent us down to Mexico for 2 weeks.
I'm not riding a fucking side by side with you, bro. I keep thinking about it. I'm like, I want to ride with him, but at the same time, he's not scared to wreck that motherfucker.
That's the problem, is we will tear everything we have up.
I used to race quads, but I don't know if I have that much in me anymore. You know what I mean? I don't know. I probably still do. I just got to channel it.
There's definitely something chemically that changes in you from when you're a kid. Maybe it's knowing or not knowing. But it's definitely different now. I look back at stuff I used to do, and I'm like, I wouldn't even consider that now. Wouldn't even consider that.
Yeah, which is weird. Your reasoning changes a little bit in that regard of like the risks that you're willing to take. But I mean, we take a lot of chances still. Like we do a lot of things that we shouldn't. But I think the obvious stuff, big jumps, going 180 miles an hour like on a street bike, like. That's the kind of stuff where you're like, I shouldn't do this. But then you get in a side-by-side and we'll go as wild as you want. And this is the same risk. Like, you could flip that thing or get thrown out or catch on fire or something. But it just, I guess the obvious changes a little bit, meaning like something is for sure taking a big risk, kind of goes away of like, maybe we shouldn't do that. Yeah. But we'll get just as wild. I don't know. Maybe it's just innate in us that it doesn't get out of you. It's like that fighting itch. You know what I mean? Like you.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm God, man. Some days wish I never had that. Do you know what I mean? Because like it's like you have to push that down sometimes.
You have to suppress it, dude. Because it's not. I
don't think that was ever going away.
Yeah, that's a tough part, especially when you compete at that. People always ask us about, or ask me specifically about racing and like, why do you enjoy that? And before I was racing professionally, we were all fighting because it was right when it blew up real big in the early 2000s and mid 2000s.
When
2010.
When I was training with you, it was like 09 to 2012, somewhere in there. Yeah,
mid 2000s, early whatever.
Yeah.
But like it was for me that fighting. I didn't love team sports because there was always like, dude, the quarterback could have made a bad pass, or like the running back could have dropped it, or the freaking defensive line wasn't shutting the run down. But for me, fighting was the ultimate competition of 1v1. Like you couldn't say like, oh man, he dropped
couldn't blame it on no
this, he
one,
didn't
but
set
you,
the
yeah.
block. It was you. You have to do it. Well, it's the same thing for me with racing. Is like it's me versus those competitors. There's an element of like facing the terrain and not tearing the car up and like conservation. But that competition for me has always been 1v1, and once you feel that in fighting or in racing or in some type of competition, like I've always felt like that's the purest form of combat is you versus another you versus an opponent. You know?
Yeah. No, I agree. I've never been one for team sports. I admire it, but I'm not this. I'm the same way. Like anything that's more like me singular against someone else, you know. I don't know. It just feels more competitive, more
Absolutely.
I don't know, man. There's something about it. More primal, I guess.
Yeah.
Use that word. I don't know.
It's hard not to be the asshole if you're not the weakest link.
Yeah. Yeah. No shit.
Yeah.
Well, what's up? How's Cowboy been? Y'all been hanging out with him?
He was just with him 2 weekends ago.
You talked about fighting. I thought about that. Yeah.
Yeah. He messaged me, and it's been on my to-do list to do an avalanche course because we go sledding, and I never realized how much danger we were in where we were riding. He has a house in Pagosa, and he chose there because it's the highest snowfall of the year. The way the mountains trap the storms or something, and so it's always, I didn't know. I'm just like, oh man, it's winter, it snows here. No, it's always 15 or 20 foot deep, and I didn't realize it's not like that everywhere. Well, I didn't realize he just texts me and he'll be like, send me a pitch screenshot like, hey, here's all the storms coming to Pagosa, let's go. And I was like, all right, I'll book a flight. So I'll go out there for a couple of days. Well, unbeknownst to me, the best right after storm is avalanche because they call it weak over or strong over weak. So like big heavy snow comes in over a weaker layer of snow that's been hit by sun and all this stuff and makes it slick. And so we were always riding avalanche conditions, and I didn't really realize until pretty much every time we went, there's been an avalanche and people have died. Every trip we
And he
went.
knew this. He knows this about you.
No, he didn't
Oh,
really. He didn't really either. Even
Gotcha.
though Matt Ince is a guy, mountain sports skills, and he's a pro rider for Polaris. He has a business there, like a pro shop, and he teaches riding classes and teach navigation classes and avalanche classes. And I was surprised because he never said anything. So we show up. Dustin went the first time, I think, with us, and they put us in the trees, dude. Like now going to Av school, I'm like, bro, but that's where we were riding. Every sweet spot you want to ride in the avalanche course, they're showing clips, and they're like, this is avalanche terrain. This is avalanche terrain. I'm like, well, when I'm riding, literally, that's when I'm like, oh yeah, that's tall, steep, and deep powder. Like, let's go with that. Well, we never knew it. We were just getting lucky. We were getting lucky every time. And so we took that avalanche course, and that was cool. And you don't realize that you only have about 18 minutes before you're out of oxygen. And so you figure...
No shit, really?
Yeah, you figure... Yeah,
I didn't know that. I didn't know
minutes.
that. I was thinking like someone just said you freeze, you know, or
That's
whatever.
what I
Like you
thought.
can't get out. So
No, you
freeze.
suffocate because your breath is hot, and so it melts the ice in front of you, and it's not porous anymore. And then apparently it only takes, and I've never paid attention. I mean, the snow's pretty packed, even on a fresh snow, but it only takes about a foot of snow to be so heavy that you have gear on, you have a thermal layer, and like you don't realize clothes are pretty binding when you really need your strength if your arms are spread out or whatever. And so it only takes about a foot of snow in an avalanche, and you aren't strong enough to move your hands from wherever they are. So you can't, and they say most of the time you end up with what they call an ice plug. You get riding or whatever happens, an avalanche happens, and snow gets crammed in your mouth, and you can't get your hands to get it out, and it's frozen in front of your face, and it melts. Yeah. And they say majority of people, if they do find them, dig them up, their mouth's full of snow and it's ice and they suffocated. Or in front of your helmet or whatever, you're breathing so hard in a frantic that you melt the snow in front of you and it ice walls.
Like a solid block of ice.
Yeah, and then you can't breathe. So you got 18 minutes. After 18 minutes, your odds of survival go down to like 75%.
That's insane.
After 18 minutes. And then after 20-something minutes, it's down to like single-digit percentage, and then 45 minutes, you're pretty much looking for a dead body.
Dude, that's crazy because as a kid, I was concerned about quicksand. Like, I thought that was a legitimate concern.
Oh, yeah.
And now...
we watched, what was that movie with the horse and the...
Never-ending Story.
Never-ending Story, bro.
Yes,
that
of course.
frightened all of us.
So I thought that was a legitimate concern as a kid, that quicksand could get you. And now I realize, like, oh, dude, you just sit still and like wiggle your knees and you get out of there. But snow, I thought, like, dude, that was never a concern. Like, just wiggle around and make yourself a little igloo in there and chill till they find you. But it's nothing like that.
No. Yeah, you're if you don't have an ab pack with the airbag to keep you on top, or you don't have the beacon that you wear, it's always sending a signal. And then if somebody gets buried or something happens, everybody else pulls her out, and you flip a switch and it goes to search, and you can pick up that signal. But what's crazy is, like, the most advanced ones only pick up, and that's the absolute best ones, pick up from 80 meters. What you're talking about, that's not very far. No. And so it's important when you're riding to let someone climb something, watch them, and that way if an avalanche happens, you can be like, oh, that's kind of where I saw them. And like, you'd be surprised how much of the 18 minutes gets burnt up getting back on your sled or getting over to where they're at, getting your pack off, getting your stuff out, put it on search, talking to everybody, make sure everybody in the group puts theirs on search so you're not picking up their signals. It goes pretty quick. 18 minutes ain't long.
No. Well, I think it's funny. It's not funny, but it's interesting how there's these strategic safety measures for doing something that's dangerous.
Yeah, right?
Right.
It's like, this is already dangerous, but take these few precautions.
We have some real smart ways to mitigate that danger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I've never done any sledding. Dude, I don't like heights. I really don't, man.
Same.
I don't like.
Same.
I'll go up there, but dude, like, I can't imagine even being on a ski lift. That scares shit out of me. I don't know.
Oh, that bad?
Yeah. I can't. I just don't like height, man. I don't like heights. Well, I don't know how high that is. I don't know.
You need to look up Montana Big Sky Trundle. It goes from. I'm not scared of heights, but this thing terrified me. It goes from 14,000 foot to like 14,000 foot, and you got about 7,000 or 8,000 foot under you, and it's a cable. And like, I understand mechanics and physics, and I'm like, bro, how tight is this cable pulled to keep all these trundles? They're the size of like 4 big elevators. Like, it holds like 20 something people, and there's multiple down this single string, and it sags so far down, and it's slow, and you're riding across this windy mountaintop. Yeah, when they told us, what did they call them? It's not called a trundle. It's called something. But anyways, bro, Big Sky Montana one is.
We did one in Colorado. We did one somewhere in Colorado. I was with my wife.
Maybe it was Park City.
We did one where you walk across this bridge, and it's all cabled up, and then you can ride the thing back over the damn whatever the
trolley
hell.
thing,
or whatever.
And
I got to look at it, but it's only like 2 people at a time or something.
Yeah.
And they were like, well, the wind's getting up. We got to turn this off. And I'm like, man, hell no, I'm not getting on this thing. Because we waited in line for like an hour and a half. And they finally shut it down because of the wind. And I was like, thank God, because I didn't want to get on. I was trying not to be a pansy. You know, I was like, oh, yeah, I'll do it. The whole time I was like, I really don't do this
Please
shit,
let
man.
something happen, please.
So we had to walk right back across that bridge. That bridge was damn near a mile long. And it was in this gorge. It's some gorge in Colorado, I'm sure. I'm sure y'all may, I don't know, anybody can look it up.
Yeah, I'm sure we've been around that area.
It was, hell no, dude. But I'm better than I used to be, man. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't even go upstairs. Now, I get on a ladder and shit. I'm better now, man. But just the thought of, like, getting on, like, I don't know, I guess sledding in snow would be cool because I guess you're in between ridges.
You
don't feel like you're looking off the side of a mountain or nothing.
No.
So I can handle that, I guess.
Not really.
But that shit, like riding up the side of the mountain in a vehicle, I don't like that.
With the drop off beside you?
Dude.
Yeah.
Oh, no, we're not riding on any up to any cliff edges.
Yeah.
No. I'm not that good of a rider.
We talked about that the other day of like stuff that happens early in life that maybe subconsciously affects you that you don't even realize later in life. Did something happen that...
I don't think so, man. I think it's just like one of those things that instinctively, like, we're not made to go up there. Like, we're not made to be that high.
Not built for that. That's for sure.
I don't know. I don't think anything ever happened because really, we grew up real poor, man. I didn't have an opportunity to travel or never flew on a plane or anything.
You never got double bounced on a trampoline by your...
Oh, yeah.
You did.
Yeah.
Maybe sent to Mars.
Maybe that's what it was.
Maybe sent to Mars. That definitely generated my fear of heights, is getting sent to the moon by my older brother, for sure, and landing on the...
Springs?
Yeah, definitely.
Dude, we did a lot of... Man, if I could have video of all them WWE moves we were doing on those trampolines, man, you know. Off in the kiddie pools and shit, man. Yeah.
It seems like that's a lot of people, though. They have that experience. Mal's got one of our buddies has a black lab. He got 2. He ended up having to get a second one because the first one wouldn't hunt at all, wouldn't get in water. His I forget his name, her name Katie or something like that, but Balder came from a good line of dogs. wouldn't hunt, wouldn't get in the water, couldn't get it to train when he was playing. Like, he would play fetch. Dog did awesome fetch, but when it came to water and throwing dummies, never would retrieve, never would go out in the water and get it. And he bought it to hunt with and couldn't figure it out. We called the owner a couple of years later. The dog was 2 years old and finally figured out, like, this dog just ain't going to hunt. It ain't going to go out on the boat. It ain't going to get in the water. Called him and found out that when the dog was like newborn, the mama had it under a shed with one over. There was only 2 in the litter, and it flooded one night, and they had to cut up the floor of the shed to get the other puppy. The mama got the other puppy out and didn't get that one out.
That's insane.
And they cut up the floor of the shed, and as a puppy that wasn't running around the yard and playing, it almost drowned it. And that's all they could point to is that some traumatization from that, and that dog never would get in the water, never did hunt. He still got it today. He ended up getting a new one. He's got Maya now, which is a great little hunting dog. Dog's super smart, but that one never is just a house dog now. Would never do nothing. But
I mean, it makes sense. It does make sense.
But
man.
that's the same thing with humans. You don't think of it in animals that they have a traumatization like that, and it affects them. But man, it's even more common in people that we come across, and like you kind of suspect, like, man, what's that personality trait, or like,
you have that, man. You like, especially the guys that are fighters, like we all know that.
Oof.
You know, like the ones that are like, that's what they eat, shit, and live.
Yeah.
And those guys, every one of them come from a rough upbringing. It's not like your regular suburban house, family. It's just those that didn't come from. Not the dogs we know. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the Sean Stricklands and people like that.
Yeah. I mean,
Just
that's
real dogs.
Come
come up from a background like that. It seems like, which is crazy because Cowboy came from good family. Like, his dad's good people. His grandparents are freaking awesome, and he's a dog for sure.
Yeah,
for sure. But he didn't. I mean, that I know.
Oh, he ran around with Eric and the rough crowd kids.
Yeah, but from what I know of, he didn't come from a real rough upbringing.
Well, it's interesting how you have.
I don't think so. Not that I remember. He said his dad was a way different person than
really?
Like real hard on him, and but who knows why that was? I don't know.
Well, but he hung
around a rough crowd, and they were always fighting.
He doesn't seem like he's one to spin off any time though. That's what I'm saying. That's the difference. But the guys who just always are ready, like always, looking for it. Those are the ones that come from that rough upbringing. I feel like the ones that, like, if you go out with, you're like, damn, I don't want to go out to student night because I know we're gonna get some shit.
Yeah.
I
used to be me too, bro.
That trip before we went sledding, I was in Nashville with him at a UFC watch party, and I ended up knocking a dude out in a bar in Nashville just 2 weeks ago.
I don't know if you can say that.
I don't care.
Say that?
I don't care. And he never got out of the VIP. He just sat back there and he was like, yeah, I was just kind of waiting if it wasn't going to pop off. And I never did. We ended up partying with that dude's friends the rest of the night. But no, he's not one to, like, ready to go if something pops up. He's just kind of, if he's got to, he will. Now for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because you can now, I guess. Yeah. I saw y'all cold plunge or something. I saw y'all were cold plunge.
Bro.
I do that every morning.
That one is those tubs that circulate the water is way worse than his deep freezer he had.
Yeah, I bet.
Bro.
His deep freezer he had. That's what his cold plunge was for a couple of years now since we've been going out there, was literally a deep freeze that he siliconed the bottom of and filled it up. And so it would be taking a kettlebell and breaking ice on the top layer. But that new one that he's got that y'all did,
yeah, that's hard, man.
With the cycle, there's a couple of brands.
Yeah, they're all the same thing. They circulate the water.
I'm extremely particular when it comes to my vehicles, and I only recommend those who are the same way. That's why I always recommend SBC Autos. They take pride in their inventory, from badass four-wheel drives, clean classic cars, and even your everyday grocery getters. They have it all. No hassle, no BS. SBCautos.com.
Pool is one, and I'll just get there by the pump and freeze my ass off, and it's like 40-something degrees every morning, and I hate it. But I haven't got, I was like, I hadn't stepped up to ordering an actual cold plunge yet, but I'm just like, pool's off season, I'm going to use it right now. It sucks, man.
Apparently it doesn't. Yeah, it only takes about 40-something degrees. It don't even have to be 32.
No, it don't need to be in the 30s.
That's what that one was, only 45, 46 at its coldest.
I've noticed a significant difference from doing it because I've progressively been doing it, which is kind of nice. I've been easing into it as the season's gotten colder outside.
Yeah.
And as it's gotten into the lower 40s in the pool, it's like 43 right now. You can feel in your bones, man. It's different than 50.
And it's crazy. You can go out in 40-degree weather, jacket it up with like clothes on and some thermals, and you're like, man, I just don't see how this would be so cold. But water 40 degrees, hits different, you know. Even jumping in like the Colorado River when we go race at in like Laughlin, the Colorado flows through there. And I think they say that water's like 50 or 55, and you think, man, 55, like that ain't that bad. You get in there, it for some reason water hits different than what just ambient temperature.
Yeah, because if you jump in like you're and go in the ocean or whatever, you're like, oh, it's the water's too cold to get in. Hell, that's only like 70 something.
Yeah.
And you're saying it's too
70s
cold.
is cold water.
Yeah.
70s is cold water.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But there's something behind doing that, doing the cold plunge.
I know it's become like almost a trend or whatever, but I mean, you've been seeing athletes do ice baths forever, you know, and I've been doing it just first thing in the morning. I'll jump in, I'll set the timer for 3 minutes, I'll jump right in all the way up to my neck, and then I'll climb out of the pool. I'll be like 5 foot of water, and I'm not real tall, so it's like right here.
You said you set the timer for 3 minutes. Do you stay in for 3 minutes, or just set the timer for 3 minutes?
I stay in. I get up immediately, set the timer, jump in the pool. I put my phone on the edge of the hot tub. I get out of the pool and go straight into the hot tub and sit there for 10 minutes. And that's been kind of like my routine. But I mean, it feels good to me, dude. Like I'm one of those people that normally will get up, move it around a little bit, and then have some caffeine. I don't even want any type of caffeine or any kind of type of stimulant for like half a day. So it does something. It's been doing something like dopamine wise for me. But
It's funny. When we started going to Cowboys, we thought it was so cool. He has a big, nice sauna at his place, and then he had the ice bath and then a hot tub right beside the ice bath. And so, like after kids camp and stuff, when we would do all that all day, we would do the process. We would do a sauna and then ice bath, and then either sauna or hot tub or ice bath or whatever. And so we didn't know any better. So when we went out there, we did sauna, ice bath, then we get in the hot tub and like warm back up because it feels so good to jump right out of the ice bath into the hot tub. Well, like a lot of the fighters and stuff are going sauna, ice bath, back into the sauna.
Yeah.
We're like, man, I don't want to get in there that cold. Like, let's warm up and then go back in there. Well, we did ice bath, hot tub, and went to the sauna, and it went to another planet when we got in the sauna. And we couldn't figure it out. We were like, bro, what is going on? But they all kind of thought it was funny because we were over there just panting in the sauna. We're like, what on earth? Well, it's because you warm your core body temperature up in that hot tub, and then you go to the sauna at 15 degrees warmer than what they're walking in. So it takes them 10 or 15 minutes just to catch up to where you were, and we're over there freaking dying because we're already coming in rolling a sweat. But it's amazing what putting that little bit of stress on your body does.
It really is, because like that's a tool you always have. You don't even think about it. It's like, this is something that puts me in a mental and physical bind that actually is something that's going to benefit me. I mean, I don't know. We'll see. It doesn't seem like everyone's been doing it like significantly long enough yet. I mean, everyone's talking about it for the past year or two, but like, I know it kind of mainstream, but it's something that like you're putting your body under stress, and then your body's actually using that stress to kind of almost heal, or something like some therapeutic factor to it.
It's always been weird to me is they talk so highly of doing that, and the shock proteins or whatever.
Heat shock protein.
Heat and cold shock protein.
Yeah, that gives you energy during the day. And so for me, it's whenever I go racing and like I'm in that very high stress situation, when I'm done with that, even as short, like when we do short course races and like you have like a 10-minute or 15-minute heat, but it's at 100% capacity, that affects you completely different to where you're just absolutely drained when you get out of the car. But it's the same or similar kind of stressful situation. Like you put your body and mentally through all this, just like what a cold plunge is to me. Like that's as difficult as being
you're out here racing, about to die, pissing on yourself, driving 100 miles or whatever.
What's so weird to me is how does one affect you in a way that gives you good energy and like makes you feel good, and one you just freaking crash whenever you get out of the car, like you're just dead.
Well, do you still get the amount of angst and nervousness every race, or are you more chill now, or do you feel like you need to keep that? Like it's almost like fighting. They say once you lose that, then you really need to quit. It's not there, or deer hunting or anything. Like once you lose that nervousness,
I've always heard that once you start losing that excitement or that nervousness, like it's time to hang it up. It's time to get away from it. But for me, I'm 10 years into racing. I'm 7 years into racing, like on the professional national level, racing one time a month, and it's still the same for me. Like I get so nauseous, I want to throw up before the races. When you're sitting in line at the start line, it's such a weird time, and you and I have discussed it when we raced the 500 and the Mint together. Me and my other co-driver Dustin Henderson. Every time we ride together, like you're sitting there in line and it's super calm. You want to take a nap. You immediately get sleepy. Like for whatever.
It drains you.
Yeah, just literally sitting waiting your time.
That would happen to me for a fight too, and then it'll dump you. It'll dump you right before,
Same thing. You get so sleepy, and you're like, bro, I don't want to do this. Like I'm tired. I don't feel like doing this. But it's always such a weird conversation that I like to have right before the race. Of literally 2 minutes from now, 10 minutes from now, 6 hours from now, we're fixing to be nonstop in a battle with the desert for the next 6 or 8 hours. And you're sitting there in dead silence, and you can just hear the radio static, just shh, and you're waiting on that green light for the next 6 hours. But for that moment, and it even happens to me the night before, like when I'm laying in bed, I'm like, you realize this time tomorrow, we're fixing to be like, in respect to racing, in the fight of our life, trying to get this done. And so that, for some reason, in that section of time, is when I know, like, this is why I do this. This is why I freaking love racing, because I have that feeling of I'm going to be at battle right now, tomorrow, but it's dead silent right now. You know what I mean?
You think if you lose that feeling, you'll hang it up?
I don't think the lust of it will be there anymore.
Yeah.
If I don't feel that anymore, I don't think I really have that drive to
win.
I want to do this, because every time I'm out of the car, and Quinn can attest to it, like when you finish it's a weird mark when you're 30 minutes to an hour from finishing a long race, or like LECCs, when you're down to that last 15 minutes, that last 2 to 3 laps, or for us, long races, hour to 30 minutes, you start thinking to yourself, I cannot wait for this to be over. I'll start asking my co-pilot, like, how many miles do we have left? What mile marker are we at? I can't wait for this to be done. But it's not 15 minutes after I finish. I'm like, bro, let's go back to the start line and let's do this whole thing again. I'm ready to go.
So it's a mental thing, it for sure. It's something mental in you that doesn't really know what you're doing. It must be a part of your brain chemical or something that's like, hey, we can't sustain this. You need to quit because you're dehydrated. I mean, to do those races, people don't realize like the amount of energy you consume. Like you said, it's insane. Just to put in retrospect, just the heightened adrenaline dump when you get in the car and you're about to start, that it dumps. You're sleepy at the line and you just woke up for the day. You haven't done anything, and then you get the dump when you go off the line, and then it kind of settles, and then through the whole race you don't even realize how hard you're working, even just sitting in the car, and hydration and food and stuff. And so like, it's so weird. He's right. The last hour can't come fast enough. You're like, you done 400 miles, and the last 30 miles you're counting them down, and it only feels like that because you kind of know where the finish is. It's weird. And then you're right. Yeah, like there's like a high of like, you're out of the hard part. So it's like, I'm ready to do it again. It's an addiction.
So counterintuitive.
It's gotta work the same as an addiction. That's what it sounds like. You get the high from the drug, and maybe you got some of the downsides coming off of it, and you're like, oh, I'm ready to be done with this. I'm never doing it again. And all of a sudden, as soon as you're done with the race, you're like, man, that was fun. I would go back out and ride right now again. But
that's so well put.
Yeah.
Like I think that's a big part of what it is it's like a drug addiction of like, as soon as you come off of that high, you're like, I gotta have a bump, dude. You know what's crazy is Cam. What's crazy is Cam. What is Cam's last name? I only know
it's a weird.
So he's a British English fighter, super cool guy. We met him at kids camp. But he said that one night when we were all sitting out there hanging around the fire, because he's a successful fighter. He's done well. He's fought in the UFC a few times. But he said, man, if you could.
Certified calmest psychopath you'll ever meet.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. He's ex-British. Like I don't know what their special forces are.
That I think that's what they normally say. British special forces.
He told us some crazy stories, dude. Matter of fact, I hate to get sidetracked, but one story that he told us that was insane to me is they were in Afghanistan fighting, and it was him and 4 of his buddies lined up at a wall, and but dude, I get chills thinking about it. And like they had to break and run for something, or they were clearing houses, and so his 4 buddies, like for whatever reason, they took off, and whatever the next step was, and they all got shot. They all got killed. And so he had to move also for whatever reason, because he knew it was a bad situation. It was insane hearing him explain that he knew that I'm fixing to step out from behind this wall, and I know right now this is the end. Like this is where that's where I'm at right now, and I got to make this move. And so when Quinn says my man's a certified psychopath, psychopath. But like what Quinn was saying about the winning being a drug, he said if you could put winning in a pill and you could give it to a person, it would be the most addictive and the most sought after drug that you could ever have. That would surpass any other high that a person could have if you could put winning in a pill.
I agree, but do you think like it wouldn't be satisfying if you didn't have to go through everything to win? Everything's
perspective,
right? I mean, because
there's certainly an element for guys like us that we have to have that battle, but I think if you could have that feeling, even without the struggle, even without going through what you had to, if you could just have that feeling,
just the heightened feeling of success, like. In that moment?
Yes, but the perspective is coming from people that had to work. So that feeling is probably different for me than somebody, or for us, than somebody that maybe had success and didn't really have to work for it.
Just that natural talent or whatever.
Yeah. So that high that we get off of winning is probably different than what they get. But in perspective, the high, after all the sacrifice, after 10 hours in the car, after pissing on yourself for, you know what I'm saying, not eating for 10 hours, that if that could be bottled up and you could feel that winning, dude, you couldn't get enough of it.
Oh, I believe that. I believe that for sure, man. I really do. I think that's something that people just, they don't get it. They really don't get it. And they really, like, you see stuff like that, unless it's something mainstream, they won't latch on to like following like a sport like that. Because you have a specific sport that a lot of people really don't know a lot about, because it's just not, you know, it's dude, it's badass. But like, how do they come up
mainstream.
With? Yeah, it's not, which is, I like that, makes me even be more enticed by it.
Yeah.
How do they come up with the length of the races? Like, why do they decide, okay, we're going to run these this long for this amount of time? Like, how did that happen?
It's based on permitting and private property owners that let us race on their land. So like out in, say, Nevada, like they have to pull permits if we're running on all BLM or Bureau of Land Management land. They have to pull permits, but they're like, you can only race in this area.
Okay.
So what they'll do is weave a track together in those areas. Sometimes it cuts through the mountain. Well, when we have to cross over a mountain, typically there's only 1 or 2 roads that you can take, period, through the mountains. And so when we bottleneck to that area, like you only have one section. Well, when you break out from there, you can go down, 20 miles zigzagging through this wash, and you come back and you come down this high line, then you cut across. And so it's based on like the permitting of the land and like the land management. So sometimes like we've had races that would typically be like the Mint 400, really well known. For a few years, it was only 360 miles. And then they got freed up on some property that we could run a couple of different switchbacks in. So it turned into a legitimately 400-mile race.
Say only 360 or only 400. That's a lot. Dude. That's a long time,
so
bro.
long.
Yeah,
like most people were like, I don't want to go to the store because it takes me 3-mile drive.
Can you
know
imagine
what I mean?
driving from freaking here to Dallas and back?
At 100% capacity.
At 100% capacity.
And not on a road.
Not on the highway. Under the worst terrain, worst conditions you can imagine.
I want to come ride. I want to
should.
ride, dude.
You should come with us.
I want to.
Yeah,
like, I'm going to be scared shitless, and I think I need that.
It's worth it. Dude, it's worth it.
But it sounds like excruciating and but at the same time amazing to me, because it's something that I want this that's to grow more, like, or for more people to know about it, like the specific races you're doing, because it's insane, man. It really is.
And it's a good time. But you should come with us. But it's got to be what we were talking about, and I hate to go back, but what we were talking about a minute ago, it's got to be like, I've seen you whenever you're tuning those bikes, bro, and you'll stay up there till 3 or 4 in the morning, and it's got to be like when you get that timing right, and you get that fueling right, and you get that perfect pull, and then like you look on the dyno chart, and you're like, oh, bro, we hit this horsepower. There's got to be something, and I think too few people actually sit and either recognize it or appreciate it. Of like, when you finish an edit on like a podcast or a video, or your ribs turn out perfect. If people are not taking time to sit there and be like, that was the one, man, like I need to smell this rose for a moment, then you miss it all. Like I think that's where people lose. Like they get into that negative mindset, in that rut of like, man, poor me, and like must be nice. Well, I'll tell you what isn't nice is when I'm in a 400-mile race and I've got 50 cars to get through, and I have to battle through blind dust at 85 miles an hour, where I'm one rock in the road and I'll completely yard sell a car. But must be nice to win the Mint 400, but you didn't see I had to get around that one guy. And for 1 minute, I got to celebrate that time. And like I've always tried to give myself that, is when I accomplish something that was very important to me. It doesn't have to be important to you. It doesn't have to be important on a scale. I give myself a week. So after I finish my big race, I have a week to text the people that I know want to hear from me or know or care, like a Quinton or like my mom or like, you know, my older brother. Like I can text those guys and I can say like, freaking, I won the men. Like I give myself a week to enjoy that. And that's on the biggest races in the United States for off-road. But if you don't do that, like when you make a good pull on a bike, or like you get the clutching just right, or you get the freaking timing just right, if you don't take time, what are you doing it for? You know what I mean?
No,
Like,
I agree.
I have to force myself.
You have to force yourself to sit down and smell it?
I mean, once, I guess, I enjoy the process, but yeah, once I'm done, I'm like, all right, cool, I figured it out. Like, there's the next thing. It's hard to, like you're talking about, take that time and be like, and reflect on it. I don't know. I don't think that's in my personality trait, and probably people that do like the racing like he does at the level and stuff. And that's probably what makes us hyper successful in those genres is I don't know. It's not that for me. Even when we race and we finish big races, you know, someone in the group is always like, bro, do you just realize you did? I'm like, yeah. I'm already thinking about like what's the next race or what's the next project. It's a weird thing. It's not healthy, I don't think, maybe, you know, but yeah, I think I think that's a discipline to make sure that you enjoy and understand, like, bro, I just put in all this work to do whatever. You know, you need to take a moment to enjoy it. But I think in people that are highly successful at something, that's probably not part of it ever. I think that's something they have to learn and have a discipline to have, so you're not you know, always chasing the rabbit.
Yeah, there's always spinning the wheels. I think that is something too, because I've noticed that with multiple businesses and everything going on, like it's just like task. And when I've taken enough time, you know, whether it be a certain business or whatever scenario, and sit back and look, I'm like, man, this time last year, look where I was at, and look at this, you know, like look where we were as a team or family or whatever. It does do something, but it takes discipline to figure that out.
Reflection's important. It's not something I don't think you can do it by yourself, really. It takes, like you said, people around you that are happy to cheer you on when you win. Because me, like he's talking about at work, I mean, we've got I think 1,000+ vehicles on the project list that we haven't done a lot on, and like every day I'm like, all right, I need to get this one done. And it's never like, man, look how much we got done, look how much on the website, look how many vehicles we already support. I don't care nothing about that. Doesn't do anything for me. I'm just like, all right, what's the next one? All right, cool. This looks like a big project. This is going to be difficult. Navigate it, get it done. All right, what's the next one? So, you know, the racing stuff. I mean, yeah, right when you finish the race, if it's a big race, you're like, you know, that's awesome. Like it happened. But for me, any short, long races, it was always like, you know, afterwards, you wouldn't know if I won. If you saw me walking through the parking lot, or you wouldn't know. You wouldn't know 15, 20, 30, 40 minutes later or whatever, unless you knew and asked about it. I don't know. That's not my personality trait. Probably not most, I would think. But like I said, I think anybody at the top level of anything is the time. And so the time for celebration is probably narrow if you're the best at it, because that time you spend celebrating is the time somebody else is putting in work. Is, I think, the way it probably works, you know, whether you realize it or not. So yeah, I think it's, like he said, important to reflect on that stuff for sure.
I think everybody deserves to do that. There's a balance between, you know, complacency and patting yourself on the back and taking time to praise yourself. Yeah. Which is, I don't encourage anybody to do that. But you still, if you've been through like, you know, tough battles, or you've been through some serious things that didn't go your way, and you get discouraged by that. And I've been through it a bunch of times. I've been in big races, and I've been winning big races until I wasn't, and that is one of the most frustrating things for something to happen. And so I recognize that I had to force myself to appreciate throughout those races little accomplishments, because you never know when that last one is going to happen. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Of like, I might pass 50 cars and in the last 10 miles of the race break a ball joint and it's over. Yeah. But if I didn't enjoy any of it, and all I do is look at this race and I spent this much money and this much time preparing and brought this many people out of here, and I just leave pissed off, I don't want to do the next race. But if I'm like, dude, when we passed that guy and like we hit this corner just right and like we made this progress, I've always found that I had to consciously make the effort to appreciate the things that I did, so that it keeps me motivated to keep going. Otherwise, I get super frustrated on stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I agree. I think you see a lot of people that in any competition that get extremely frustrated easy, and you're just like, man, this is not even fun to compete against you.
No.
You know what I mean?
No.
Like,
I think that's probably when people lose interest in something, they don't realize why. I think something happens to you probably chemically when you don't enjoy the highs, and you're like, I don't got time for that. I've got to keep going. I got to put in the work. I got to stay at the top.
Yeah.
I think when you that constant chase, you don't get the same dopamine hit probably if you don't spend some time and enjoy it. So it's probably what happens to a lot of people. They're just like, I don't know why I don't enjoy it anymore, and that stop enjoying it when they were doing good or something like that.
Yeah, I've been involved in all type of anything competitive, like just whatever it may be. I mean, over the years of the million damn hobbies, but it's like, or sports or whatever, fighting, whatever. It's like you do have those people that you train with or you work with, or maybe you're not in the same competition together, but they have a competition this weekend. You may have one next weekend, but you go to support them, and you see how those people interact with people and how they are before and after, and especially if they take a loss and like for fighting, for example, and they just blame everyone and throw shit and throw a whole fit, and you're like, man, I don't want to be in that place.
Yeah.
If I get to that place, we probably don't need to be doing this anymore.
I agree with that. And there's a tough balance because you don't want to give yourself too much gratitude, because then it becomes excuses.
Right. I agree. There's a balance. There's a bit like it is with anything, right? But like what I like about you guys is y'all are always doing something. You're always showing the process of something going on, and it's not always about the Instagram post of you winning.
Yeah, of course.
Everything, something's always going on. It's not just always like, look at what I did. Look what I did. Look what I did. It's like, no, look at all this crazy shit we're doing. Yeah. Oh, by the way, I placed podium this weekend.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like,
the goods, the bads, the indifference.
I enjoy that, man. I think that's authentic, and people preach that shit and say that stuff. But like at the end of the day, everyone that talks about authenticity, or they have someone following around taking fucking pictures of them. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like
it's a little
of the back of them looking at this pretty structure. Like,
yeah.
All I can think about when I see a photo like that is who's back there taking that picture.
Yeah, it's not
like,
that authentic.
Not the selfie where you're like, "What's up, man? Hair's all fucked up and shit." Like, y'all keep it real, man. I like it, dude. Yeah. Like for real though, that's real life. Like we're missing so much of that because everyone wants the reel to be perfect or their timeline to be perfect, or the perfect filter or the perfect sunset, and it's like, dude, it's just those things are rare in life.
Yeah.
And you should appreciate them, not try to create them every day because it's not going to happen.
That's why I enjoy coming on here. I think you're a good advocate for that and a good example of that, of like you're using your platform for good. You want to influence people in a positive way. You want to give people a voice. You want to let guys come on here and tell their opinion, and your reach may be different than somebody else's, and it may be somebody you're aspiring to. And it's the same thing for me. I recognize my reach is not equivalent to a Robbie Gordon or a BJ Baldwin or these huge racers, but that doesn't mean I don't have a voice.
Yeah.
And so I want to use what my small platform is for positive, to make people laugh. That's why Quinton and I do all that crazy stuff. That's not why we do it because we're going to do it. But we document it, and it's what we've talked about a few times of like, we do so much crazy stuff and so much fun stuff, and our life is so, like, to me, it's exciting and it's different. But if you don't let anybody know that, you don't open the door to encourage people to do that, which is what you do, which is why I like coming on here, and I like seeing you do well, because you're showing people, like, just get out there and do it. Like, talk to your buddies, sit them down and talk to them and record it, and then ask somebody else to come,
Yeah. I appreciate it. And I think that, what I'm doing here is just, I just want to talk to people that I think are interesting. You know what I mean? Like, that's all it really has become. It's like, I don't want to just have someone on here because of the clout or whatever. It's like, no, like whenever I reached out to you, it was so crazy to me when you came on last time that we already fucking knew each other. I didn't even know it. Like, I was like, we literally have hit each other in the face before. Like,
yeah.
And didn't even remember it, probably because we hit each other in the face.
Of course. In the middle of the conversation, figured out that, like, wait, hold on just a second.
Yeah. But I just saw what you were doing. I was like, this dude's right down the road, and he's doing this shit. I got to talk to him about it. And the same thing with you. He was like, I found out about you through looking at his stuff. I was like, well, same shit, dude. It's like, more of us need to get together, man, because it's like, people, they always say, well, you got to go here to find this. There's usually something down the street. You just got to know where to look. You know what I mean? Yeah.
I think that's why it's important about doing the stuff that we do, is because you encourage people to get out there and do that. Like stuff whenever I'm not around or I'm not in town or I'm not available and I watch his stuff, I immediately like, I want to go do that. And like, dude, that looks like so much fun. So like I watch his and I watch your stuff and other people, and I'm like, I want to encourage people to go out and do that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Because you do have a voice, and like, I'd rather be the good guy. It's like what we talked about from doing the kids camp is, I want to be the good guy. Like, I want to be the one that people look at and like, bro, I want to be like that. Not that Josh Koscheck or like the villain. I don't want to be the villain that gets a lot of attention. Like, hate him, and that's why people follow him. I want to be like, I like that guy. I want to be like that. I want to hang out with him. That's why. That's the guy I want to be. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, I don't know. It's just, we were talking about, Nate and I were talking about that last week on the show. I think it's like you're never. Like, if you're the person that's always working hard, no one's ever going to talk bad about you. You know what I mean? If you're the person that's always honest, no one's ever going to talk bad about you. You know what I mean? It just is what it is. And if they are, they get weeded out really easily. But if you're the person that's going to slack or cut corners or treat people wrong or do wrong by somebody, easily you're going to lose that pedestal you're on, you know?
For sure. What about
for me? I don't know. I guess there's especially at our age, there's so many excuses not to say yes to stuff, and we don't ever let that get in the way. I mean, we run companies, we have all kind of responsibilities, and people are like, I just don't, you know. I'm like, I didn't realize how many people sit at the house and watch our stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think that we lived much different than anybody else, as far as like, maybe their thing isn't racing and the adrenaline, but they're doing something else. They're not sitting at the house. They're not watching how other people live by majority, but and not taking anything from them, and hopefully something comes out of it positive. But, you know, we always tell everybody, I'm like, you can do it too. I'm like, yeah, man, figure out how to get a four-wheeler and come ride with us, or, you know, holler at us when you get a gun or something, we'll go shoot, or we have a lot of stuff now too. We take a lot of people hog hunting when they, you know, they'll message us or whatever, and we're like, oh, we got spare stuff now, y'all can come. And so my whole thing is, I really didn't realize that we said yeah to more than most people, and there's no Monday through Friday for us of work. It's, hey, if something's fun going on, I'll go and I'll figure out work later. If I got to be there, I'll be there. If, you know, if it's after work or a lack of sleep or whatever, you know. So I just, you don't realize that until you kind of put yourself out there.
You can't do that until y'all have good teams.
Yeah,
that's something you couldn't do that if you didn't have a good team.
No.
You know, because the whole house will catch on fire, you know?
Yeah, there's no denying that, for sure.
And that's a good thing, man. I think that's important. I think it's good. And like, I think too many people get wrapped up in success and money, and they turn around and look, and they lost all this time, and now they're feeble and can't fucking do anything, and wishing they would have. So it's good. You guys are the ones kind of pushing that, you know?
Yeah, that's what we've always talked about, is I don't want to save my money and buy, you know, an exotic car whenever I'm 60 years old. I want it now, dog. Let's do it now.
Yeah, or if that money never comes, I would have rather have my Corvettes now than wait 5 years for a $300,000 or $400,000 car. I'm like, nah.
And then you're not even going to drive it like you would now either.
No. Yeah,
you're just going to put around it and go to a car show and hope some badass kid don't lean on it. You know what I mean? Like,
that goes back to that spontaneous buy we were talking about earlier of like, man, if we want to do something within reason, I always try to give myself like a week of like researching and looking and Facebook marketplacing before I decide, because there's been a lot of things we thought we should buy immediately, and we're like, oof, I'm glad we didn't freaking do that. That would have been a terrible idea.
Yeah. And
so I try to give myself like a week of like, all right, I think about this a lot. Like, I've researched it, and I've tried to search to watch videos of them. I'm like, all right, yeah, I'm going to buy one of these. And so, saying yes to that stuff is sometimes you gotta pace yourself and look back and be like, man, should I really do that? But I said, we say yes, you know what I mean? And it's like, if we want to do something within reason, if we gave ourselves a valid pros and cons list, not written down but in our minds, pros and cons of should we do this? It's like, yeah, let's for sure do it. Definitely, let's do it. You know, we were going to open up a barbecue joint.
Oh yeah,
we're going to open up a crawfish joint. And we decided against that after like that weekend when we cooked and we ate. We was like, man, we should open up a barbecue joint. Like, let's start looking for places downtown to buy and open one. And then we were like, 3 days in, we're like, yeah, I don't think so. I don't like barbecue that much. So you got to be careful. There's a balance, right, of saying yes and going and doing, and what's really worth it, right? We're not telling people to go mortgage their house and buy a drift Corvette or nothing.
Yeah, no, I get it. But if you got some spare change,
freaking do
jump on it.
Freaking do it, dude.
Don't sit on that stuff. It's gonna go away.
On your level. Problem is, we've ran around with Dan Bilzerian and a couple of people like that.
Yeah.
I only use his name because he's such a big spender.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like I recognize we ain't on that level. We go into his garage and he's got Shelby's and he's got these freaking insane Mercedes and Ferraris and like these insane cars.
Yeah, but he's not driving them like you're going to drive.
He's not.
Yeah,
but
those are.
Immediately you're like, dude, I want to get something like this, but like scale it down and you can do that. So the point of saying that is like you might see me and Quinton like, oh, dude, he's got that truck and he's got that thermal and like he's got that thermal. Well, don't do it on that scale, but that doesn't mean you have to sit at home and not do it.
Yeah. Get that old 4-tracks out, boy.
Get the old 4-tracks and go riding. That's exactly what I'm
We've
doing.
had
still-
more
I'll
fun.
still get
We've
one
had
of those,
more
bro.
fun in the shit we didn't care about.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
That's the truth.
for
You
sure.
can pick those up for $2,500 all day.
Yeah, listen, you don't have to have Pulsars and Triticons.
Yeah.
You can be like Mikey D and get an ATN and go hunt with us. You know what I'm saying? You had Mikey Daniels on here the other week.
Yeah, it's been a while. Yeah.
Yeah, you can get an ATN like him and come thermal hunting with us. Shout out Mikey D.
Well, what y'all got coming up, bro? We're about to wrap this thing up. Anything, any shout outs, any plugs you want to throw out there?
Do you mean immediately, like tonight? Where are we going from here? Or
Nah,
you just
man,
been coming?
just, like,
okay.
just in general.
Got it. We're fixing to start the race season off. Our first race of the year is the biggest race of the year is King of the Hammers. So it'll be 2 weeks straight of pre-running and racing, and we'll have the 2 biggest races. One is the desert race, and one is a rock race. And so for us, our year starts off the last week of January is going to be the craziest for us. But we had some big accomplishments this year for me in racing. I won probably one of the races that will define my career. And we won it. And so for me, I'm okay of like, I don't feel like I need to accomplish anything else now. I can just do it and have fun.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I've kind of solidified my legacy, excluding making it into like the Off-Road Hall of Fame, which I hope to do one day. I've kind of solidified my legacy to where I'm like, now we can just go race. We can have a good time.
Okay.
And so first race of the year is a wild one. And then a lot of fun racing this year.
Awesome. What about you, man? You got anything?
Man, that's it.
The list of 1,000 cars.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I don't know. I guess the only thing kind of big coming up is we will be launching our outdoors website, R2 Outfitters. So we got most of the groundwork laid on that, and should be releasing that website here in the next couple of weeks.
Awesome, dude.
So yeah, that's about
congrats,
it.
man.
Other than the normal stuff.
Yeah, the normal shenanigans you guys are. I'm sure y'all getting some shit since we leave here.
Yeah, unfortunately. That's why we can't meet up during the week. We have to save it for Fridays
Yeah.
and through the weekends. If we meet up during the week, we don't make it to work the next day.
I get it. Hey, I understand. I get it. Well, that's a wrap, dude. I appreciate you guys.